makes puns and thinks that they're all wrong. One's American and one is an Aussie. Talking about StarCraft 2 and the esports scene.
So that was weird. For some reason, the theme song could not be heard by the stream for a moment. Like, I hear it in my ear, but the waveform doesn't move on my software. And I'm like, well, that's just wrong.
Yeah, that's super odd.
Yeah. And I also forgot to switch the scene because
I was gonna say, I'm
busy
seeing
dealing with
zeros.
that. Yeah. So,
sound mixing.
Yeah.
Bane of everyone's existence who's ever tried it.
I am, maybe it's my fault. I am slightly under the weather. I went and got my third booster, or my third shot yesterday, and Pfizer's are set to stun. So,
Dad jokes. Are you sure you're not a dad?
I'm quite sure. Reasonably
All right.
confident.
Okay, good. I like to make that check every once in a while because you love a good dad joke.
It's true.
Yeah, I actually got my third booster today. Look at us being booster buddies.
Oh, booster buddies.
Yeah, so you're feeling out of it.
Yeah, well, I got mine yesterday, so.
Right.
Yeah. Which actually technically means we got them on the same date, because...
Yes.
Yes.
The 8th.
The 8th, yeah.
Yeah.
That's
crazy.
great. Did you get yours on the left arm or the right arm?
Left.
Me too.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
It's kind of...
Did you go down
ahead.
to a vaccination center that was staffed by about 400 qualified medical practitioners dealing with maybe 8 people?
400?
There were like people everywhere, and 99% of them all stopped and said, "All right, keep walking that way." They looked at the little sticker they gave me and said, "All right, keep walking that way."
That was their job.
Yeah, that's all they were doing, because there was I counted. I saw 8 people getting booster shots while I was there.
Yeah, that's crazy. Oh,
Yeah.
Feels a little overstaffed. Maybe other times are busier.
Yeah, when I went and got my first one, everyone was busy and there were queues for everything, and yeah.
Okay.
It's just a matter of capacity.
Reasonable.
Yeah.
So no, I'm part of the Novavax vaccine study,
Right.
which we've talked about.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, the person who did the vaccine, I talked to them today, and she was like, "Yeah, from the people I've given the vaccine to, and they've come back in, they follow up like 28 days later, see how it's going. Consistently, Novavax people who got the vaccine have reported very few symptoms. Like, it's very rare for someone to feel completely knocked out for a couple days at all. Like, it's maybe some soreness, maybe a little bit of rundown, but like for me, nothing, no side effects whatsoever. It's been amazing. So that's good. Novavax is still working on getting, I think, final approval,
Okay.
which is kind of neat. It's kind of neat to be part of that whole process and see it get out there, and maybe some people will be able to experience the no side effects effect of the vaccine. That would be nice.
That would be nice, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, another thing that happened was the first person I talked to was like, "Okay, so we're going to update your vaccine card today with your booster," and I'm like, "I don't have one of those," and they're like, "What?" I was like, "No one ever gave me one. Every time I've come in, they haven't had one, and they just don't give it to me. And I've asked about it, and they're like, we don't do that." I was like, "Okay, fine, I guess." So I actually went to a Utah Jazz game last night, and they do they require proof of vaccination to get in. But what that means is you pull up anything on your phone and wave it in the general direction of the person.
And the kid getting paid $6 an hour to check these goes, "Yeah, whatever, keep walking."
Yeah, the full-grown adult man goes, he just glances at it and waves you through, right?
Right.
So yeah, I pulled up my son's vaccine card because he's got one. I took a picture of that. So I was like, this is close enough, I guess.
I mean, it's got part of your name on it.
Yeah. I mean, it's close. No cigar, but close.
Yeah. When I was getting my shot, I booked it on my phone, and it let me use the profile I set up when booking my other 2. And I'm like, okay, that's easy. All the spaces are filled out, but they were also filled, and I couldn't edit them. So I had moved and some other stuff, that were just incorrect. I'm gonna have to just sit there and nod to this lovely lady. Her name was Chi-Chi. And I'm like, yep, that's accurate. Here's my ID. Please don't turn it over where I have a sticker on the back that says my new address. Because they don't give you a new driver's license every time you move. They just send you a sticker.
Yeah.
And I'm like, please don't turn it over. Please don't turn it over. And then we get to the one part that's like, Medicare. Do you have a Medicare card? And she asked me, and I'm like, yeah, sure, here it is. I'm like, oh shit, I remember this. Well, the first time I didn't. So she looks at me, looks at the card, looks at the screen that says no Medicare card, and I'm like, yeah, it wouldn't let me change that. And she just looked at me like I was an idiot who ticked no, despite having one. It was great.
Were we able to disabuse her of that assumption, or
I attempted to. I was like, it wouldn't let me change it when I was setting the schedule, setting the appointment. I don't know if she believed me, but
I mean, did what you could. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fair. That's funny.
Mm-mm.
So I did get a vaccine card. So for the first time ever, I've got one, which is weird, but and so they do a blood draw and they do a nasal swab every time because they want to make sure that, if you're already sick from something and then you get the booster and you're like, oh, I feel sick. You're like, well, it's probably because you were already sick, right? And man, traditionally those nose swabs over there are the worst. They're like up and they're like into your brain. They're so deep and it hurts.
Yep.
Yeah. But the guy who did it today, he said they've kind of changed the process on it. Like they didn't require people in the study to have the super up in the brain nose swab. It's like a part way up the nose, it's not all the way up the nose. So that was great. It was the like least stress appointment booster anything I've gotten for this for sure. So that was good.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
So I'm all boosted and I've never had COVID.
No?
Like, no. So I got sick in October and I had a lot of the symptoms of COVID and I reported them and they were like, okay, come in. We're going to do some tests and whatever. So they did and they took more blood, etc. And then, yeah, they sent me back the result and said I didn't have COVID. And I went to another rapid test location too and got tested. They asked me to do that and they said, nope, you don't have COVID. It's just something else.
Right.
So, yeah. I feel like it's becoming rarer for people not to get COVID, especially with Omicron being as contagious and as able to get caught as it is. Again, even if, people who are vaccinated do not get seriously sick from it, it's still, it's still in there. So
if you do get COVID there, because your kid had COVID, did they tell you which variant you had? Because I'm pretty sure that they don't bother like telling you that, and like it's. I'm sure if you requested it or something, you could work it out. But as far as I'm aware, it's not like standard procedure to dig down, and because it's mostly just like treatment, trying to keep people alive. Or a lot of people who have COVID recover at home, and so they're not going into a hospital for a series of extensive tests and treatment that you just don't know what it is you actually have.
Right. I mean, for statistical reasons, I think they do want to know, in a general sense, how many cases are Delta variant versus how many cases are Omicron variant, right?
But like I said,
but you're right. But not for everybody. I don't think that information is available, right?
Right. But like I said, here you can go get a rapid test, and if you test positive, it's like, all right, go home and isolate. Does the rapid test alone indicate?
No. I don't know. Mine came back negative. So
right. It indicates that you don't have any of the variants. So
yeah. And yeah. So
you should go out and try and get a positive one just for science.
Go to a nightclub somewhere and just like try to get as many people to breathe on me as possible.
Well, if you go to any nightclub, that's at least 3 dozen people by the time you walk to the bar. So.
Right. So you don't really even have to try, is what you're saying.
No, you do not have to try.
Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah, Duddles is saying he hasn't gotten COVID either. So I think that's what that same means. Well done, Duddles.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, it's not that surprising. The only surprising thing for me is that I've got kids who are going to school and interacting with other kids all day and bringing that home. And the fact that all 3 of them have had COVID and not given it to me. So I don't know. I mean, I didn't quarantine them. I didn't like make them stay in their room the whole time.
Right. I mean, I would have, but that's
yeah. Probably should have.
Yeah. So my brother works at a school, and he got close contact notified he was close contact and had to isolate for like the first week after school came back this year.
Oh, nice.
And
Yeah.
he got a negative result, and he still had to isolate or whatever just in case.
Yeah.
But the school has, because I was talking to someone there, their policy was they have to test all the students twice a week.
Wow.
So
Okay.
I at one point I was like, I should buy some of these rapid tests at home. That way, if I'm close contact, I can just test here. I don't have to go anywhere. That would be great. And I was buying these like 2-3 weeks ago. They're like, yeah, they might ship by the end of February. Like that's how out of stock everywhere is. It's like they might ship by the end of February.
Dang.
Uh,
I
yeah,
mean,
and so I was talking to someone at the school, and it's like, well, how are you, there's 800 students at that school. How are you going to test everyone? Like, oh, we have about 3,000 sitting in a cupboard.
oh. And you're like, hey, can I have some, please?
I did consider, but they're like, no, they're all very closely counted. They need to
They're
test all the students twice a week, plus the
they're
teachers.
marked.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's fair. Have you, so speaking of like just shortages of stuff, you
Mhm.
probably heard about this and learned about it a long time ago, but I learned about the just-in-time shipping
Shipping.
method.
Yep.
Yeah, so you
Yeah.
know what this is.
Yeah, I know what that is. It's where
Okay.
you basically only ship the, like when you're constructing something, you only send it off when the next part's ready for it, or when it's ready for the next part and the part is available. You try not to have a warehouse full of stuff just waiting to be used. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Mhm.
that it goes for goods as well. Like grocery stores run on
Mhm.
this
Yep.
model and
Well, a lot of grocery store goods are perishable, so you kind of don't want them sitting around for a super long time.
no, it's true. But
So
I
it kind of works
mean,
there. Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
But yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. So previous to this model, it was you'd have a warehouse sitting around. You'd make a bunch of stuff,
Mhm.
whether it's car parts or whether it's, granola bars, and you put them in a warehouse, and then when you need them, you go to the warehouse, you get it, you bring it back to your store, and you refill your shelves.
Mhm.
So basically, I guess the idea was, well, why are we paying for warehouse space? Let's just try to streamline this thing through the power of the internet and
Um.
basically say we're just going to get the stuff arriving to our store as we need it
Mhm.
magically on time.
Well, the idea behind it, I believe, came out of Japan when
Ah, sounds about right.
Toyota was like, we don't have the capital to really match car manufacturers who can just build like stockpiles of these things and then sell them off as they need. So they basically said, what if we just built them as we sell them? And
Right.
so you come in, buy a car, wait 2 weeks, then you get it. Was the original idea, and then that got refined again. And this is what a lot of people don't do when they had an earthquake and they realized they couldn't get any more chips, like they were running out of electronics to build their cars. Toyota eventually adapted the model where you do all of the stuff that's really hard to make. You do still have a stockpile of those. So if there is a delay in everything, well, in the manufacturing of the hard stuff, you can still continue with most of your production. A lot of people don't do this, which is why we now have a chip shortage because they're hard to make, and if they get like their production gets disrupted, like they have, you're screwed.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
if demand happens to go up at the same time, you're extra
right.
doubly screwed.
Also true. Yes,
Yeah.
which I saw someone on Twitter basically claiming that the chip manufacturers is government induced, like it's a conspiracy. The government wants you to stop buying gas powered cars because if there's no chips, you can't they can't make them, then you can't buy them. And that's why it's like, well, because they want you to buy electric cars. Electric cars have chips too.
Yeah. A
They have
lot of stuff has chips these days that didn't used to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like electric cars probably have more electronics than gas cars. At least a lot of them, I would imagine. Um,
I believe it.
yeah. So I don't know where that guy was getting his information from, but he needs to stop it.
Yeah. Blah. So good times. So yeah, so we're
Mhm.
doing this just-in-time model. Everybody's adopting it. Everybody's using it, and then we have major delays
Mhm.
to everything, and everything just instantly dies. And that's why, like, if we'd had warehouses full of toilet paper, there wouldn't be shortages of toilet paper.
Do you guys actually have shortages of toilet paper?
No, we did for a while, but
Okay.
not anymore. It's been a while.
because we had the appearance of toilet paper shortage, which was everyone was going out and panic buying them,
Mhm.
but we never actually ran out. We never actually ended up having a shortage. Like you could always just come back the next day and like there'd be a new pallet, and people would
No, we
buy
did
everything off the pallet.
because
Rinse and
I was
repeat.
checking it weekly to see if
Uh-huh.
there's any toilet paper, and there was a good 3 months where there wasn't any toilet paper.
Yeah,
And I
okay.
was like, thank goodness I already had like a big pack that I had bought a couple
Mm-hmm.
months ago, so we didn't run
Mm-hmm.
out.
Mm-hmm.
But I was just keeping an eye on it to see if it ever came back, and it took a while, but it did.
Mm-hmm. I remember because I work in a supermarket that every day or every other day we would get a new Paladin and it'd be fine, and then people are still panic buying like, oh no, we're gonna run out of toilet paper, we're gonna run out of toilet paper. And then the news was covering that there was a car crash in Queens. I say car crash. A truck had crashed and its load had caught on fire, and it was delivering toilet paper.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
that's horrible. Yeah.
yeah,
That doesn't help. That kind of
no.
stuff is really bad for the whole situation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Goodness.
I mean, we also instituted purchasing limits, but that was just because people would go and buy 9 packs of toilet paper, which means
Yeah.
you just couldn't get one to. It would become a shortage because people just couldn't get any.
Yeah.
So we did ration it, but we didn't actually have a shortage.
And that's the death spiral aspect of shortages is there's a shortage and then it's made infinitely worse by people who are like, there's a shortage. I'm going to buy all of it I can find always. And then it
Right.
gets worse. Yeah.
Yeah.
Truth,
Yeah.
truth. Ah, economics. I don't think I ever took a class explicitly on economics ever in high school or in college. Now that I'm thinking about it.
I did not.
Yeah. I get my
No.
education from the internet. That's all we need, really.
Yeah.
Yep.
Boundless misinformation on the internet. We'll all get
Uh-huh.
our education there. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
Speaking of the internet, there's a Reddit
Oh.
thread here, which is what is the most unattractive male name?
I saw that. It was Melvin, right?
No, the top comment is Blandon.
Blandon's not a name. You can't make up names.
Apparently, this person has a guy in their class named Blandon.
Okay, look. Parents are capable of naming their kids whatever they want,
Uh-huh.
right? And that's fine, unless they're in North Korea, which actually has laws against that.
Right.
But so one person named Blandon doesn't mean it's a real name. It's a fake name.
Let's
I think you need at least like 10,000 people to have a name for it to be a real name.
ancestors of the Blandon surname. So it's mostly used as a
Surname.
last name.
Yeah. So you just took a last name and made it a first name, which is cheating.
But I mean, there's people named it. You have people named Blandon.
Okay. So I mean, is there like a number we're looking at here, or you're just seeing examples?
I will look.
Okay.
I will do the Googles. How many
Fair
people
enough.
have the name Blandon?
Which honestly, it does suck. Like, I'm not going to disagree that it's not a terrible name.
In the U.S., there is roughly 8,111 people.
Oh my
with the name
gosh.
Blandon.
All right. That's close enough. I said 10,000. 8,000 is close enough.
8,000 is pretty close.
All right.
That is a bad name.
It's a bad, because it means you're bland.
Yeah.
That's what your brain says. You hear that name and you're like, this person is bland. They are devoid of personality.
Yeah.
And you're like, you meet a new person and you're instantly just, their estimation of you is low. You have to work to get that up. That sucks. Parents are mean, man.
Yeah, playing with a handicap.
Seriously. Like, the world is cruel enough without giving your kid a name that starts them off. Yeah, with a handicap.
Yeah.
You don't need that. Anywho, yeah, that was pretty fun.
That was great because I saw another one which was inflation's really killing the names. Where I just met someone called Maxabillion.
That joke. Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah,
that's really good. Man.
That's really good. Apparently, in the US, it is illegal to name your child Jesus Christ.
No.
Apparently.
That can't be possible.
Yeah. I mean, what if
Because there's a million kids named Jesus. That's half of it.
Right. He's just, yeah.
Apparently in Tennessee, a judge ordered a baby's name to be changed from Messiah. Like, honestly, sure, is it kind of heavy-handed authoritarianism? Yes. Is it also kind of punching parents in the face for being stupid? Yes. Come on, you go to kindergarten, your name's Messiah.
Hey, man. It's stopping kids from being called Messiah today. It's burning books tomorrow. It's a slippery slope.
So according to Quora, there are no national laws about naming children in the US at all, period.
Okay.
So wherever you got that information is wrong. But apparently a state judge might very well tell you to knock it off. God, that's funny. So otherwise, speaking of internet,
Uh-huh.
so there's so Twitch streamer Hassan, right? Hassan Piker, who
I've heard
is
the name.
he's an avowed communist. He's
Is he?
into he's into like eating the rich and revolution and all this stuff.
Sure.
But what's funny is he's another example of someone who starts off this way, and then once they start getting a bunch of money, just start acting like the rich people do.
Uh-huh.
So he bought a Porsche the other day.
Mm-hmm.
And so what's interesting about this in particular is there's a Kotaku article about it. And I mean, Kotaku is not necessarily gonna, do even news. They're gonna insert opinions into their stories because that's what they do. And a lot of
Right.
places do that, right?
Sure. Yeah.
So the line they end up using though is what folks may be forgetting is exactly what Hassan said. He's just a Twitch streamer. Sure, he may be a socialist, but even socialists need housing and transportation.
I mean, sure.
True.
That is
True.
technically accurate.
Just, a $200,000 car. That's, just it's transport. That's all it is. It's transportation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I can definitely see him popping down to Chipotle in his Porsche.
So I don't know. Yeah. I mean,
this isn't even the first case of this, though.
No. It's not. Because, like I said, as often happens, when these revolutionaries get a bunch of money, they're like, oh, having money is really nice, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was another Twitch streamer, I can't remember her name, and I don't know how to, I could probably find out, I just don't care. But she was all for, like, the eat the rich, blah, 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 and then one of her most recent YouTube videos at the time was, here's inside my $20,000 a month apartment or whatever, right? Like, here's my 2 million house like studio tour or whatever. And just being like, here's all my ostentatious and fabulous wealth.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't watch these people anyway, so it's not like them pissing me off is like whatever, that doesn't mean anything.
Mm-hmm.
But I just wonder if their fans look at this and go, all right, you're not one of us anymore. Like, why would I support you when clearly you're one of the people that I'd really like to revolt against, That's
Sure.
what I'm wondering.
I just don't think a significant portion of their viewer base is true believers in the socialist idea.
Like LARPing.
That's an interesting way to put it. Political LARPing, yeah.
Yeah.
It's possible. I just think they're there for whatever else is on stream. Like, I assume this guy plays games of some description and is at least a somewhat entertaining personality to watch.
I guess. I mean, did you see the video from gosh dang it, Doctor Who guy JXC?
Yeah.
Did you see
no.
his thing?
No.
So this is like a hour-long video because it's JXC. But
Right.
long story short, Jay makes a video about that house in like Oklahoma that is a converted church that turned into like an eBay fulfillment center plus where somebody lived. It's a very, very strange house. So he did a video about it, right? Yeah. And then Hassan, who apparently streams 8 to 12 hours a day, he reacted to it on his stream during Hassan's lunchtime. So it's largely Hassan like staring at the screen and like chewing and like eating stuff. He leaves to go make lunch for like 10 minutes. There's just an empty chair. Comes back. Like there's no reacting to it at all. And so JXC's like, look, man, if you're just going to play my content in its entirety from start to finish, like, actually add something to it. Be additive
Uh-huh.
with your reacting, or at least give me a shout out. Like, say the name of my channel on your stream,
Right.
please. So and Jay's like, actually, I lied. He didn't play the entirety of my video from start to finish. He cut it before the last 10 seconds where I talked about who I am and what projects I have coming up next. He definitely had to fumble with the mouse and shut me down before I could talk about myself on the channel,
Right.
on the video. I was like,
So
yeah.
this is just Pokimane watching like Avatar: The Last Airbender on stream for 8 hours.
Yes.
Yeah, it's no different to
Yep.
that. Like,
It is. And that's the exactly so somebody referred it back to Hassan and he was like, everybody does this. And it's like, okay, true. You're not uniquely terrible. Well done. Is this still stupid? Yeah, it still is. And JXE is quick to make the point that there are reaction video people who do a great job adding to the content
hmm
with additional insight or additional humor
hmm
and giving you a reason to watch their video rather than just watching the original video they're reacting to.
right.
Um, and I was the whole time I was thinking about us and like us watching The Last Jedi
hmm
and adding to it, right? Talking about how we feel about things that are happening, different, theories we've heard, or just sounds
Making
of
fun of it.
pain.
Right.
Yeah. Or mockery. And I'm like, I
Uh
feel like that's pretty additive to the experience.
huh. It is. Yeah.
So yeah, and it just what it came down to, there was this big back and forth between Jay and Hassan just incapable of understanding the concept that not all reaction content is the same. A
hmm
person who stares at their screen and makes a face twice in a 30-minute video is not the
Huh.
same thing as someone who's bringing experience and humor and intelligence and insight and actually saying things and adding things to it. They're entirely different forms of entertainment.
hmm
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think Jay just gave up eventually. Like he had some back and forth with him and it's just like, whatever. I made myself clear. The end.
I do love that the guy who positions himself as a socialist, whose very idea is we need to have a broader social understanding of the moral implicity of our society, is like, but lots of people do it, therefore it's fine. Like that's
Right.
his defense.
Right. How is that your initial defense of what you're doing? I'm not the only person doing this. Cool. You know what? There's a lot of murders in the United States every year. Does that mean killing's okay? No.
Well, I mean, there's also a lot of capitalists, so capitalism's probably fine by his logic.
There's a lot of capitalisms every day. It's true.
Yeah, there's a lot of Porsche drivers. He should become a. Oh wait.
A right-wing streamer called it a dentist car because dentists, when they make their first, couple $100,000, they usually buy this exact Porsche. It was very funny.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
Anywho, internet drama. Woo! Good
I've
times.
I've actually seen VTubers doing reaction content, which is interesting because they're VTubers and they only have a limited range of emotions that they can actually display via Anime Girl. And what they do is they just put up a timer that starts at 0 and they press play on the movie. And you don't see the movie at all. And it's just
Mhm.
them talking while they watch the movie by themselves. And so they'll talk to chat about the movie and all that. And even that is substantially different to what this guy, like better, not just different, better, because they're not staring at it. They've got to actually work to make their little model emote. If you've ever used like a face tracking software for VTubering,
Right.
it's like that's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Totally. Agreed.
yeah, yeah.
Anywho's. Yeah. Well, and also, like, I've been watching, there's a YouTuber who is a licensed therapist,
Sure.
and she does reaction videos to stuff that happens in Arcane.
Okay.
But again, it's not just her watching a scene and like acting surprised or like
Mm.
laughing at something or crying at something. It's she brings her breadth of experience and education into this thing and says, okay, this is why this character is doing this thing, and it's in a reaction to this, and we call that this in the psychology area. And it's really interesting. It just adds so much more to the experience, and I'm totally fine with that kind of thing.
Yeah, no, totally fine with that.
Yeah. So good. The best of times.
'Twas the best of times. All right, Katowice is coming.
It is.
Uh, so the main groups aren't finished yet. They all have one spot left, I believe.
Do they?
Yeah, from the round of 32.
Oh, you're correct. I see it.
Round of
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
36, excuse me.
Largely done though.
So let's look at that. And we still don't have like a time or a date for these yet, which is annoying.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, this is going to be done by the end of the month.
Mm-hmm. And it's already the 8th or the 9th.
Yeah.
So round of 36.
Yeah.
Bjorn, Armani, Ragnarok's in there. Creator, Estrella.
Hero.
Dongringu.
Players who are likely to get out. I would say Bjorn, Ragnarok, Hero, Laser. Laser over Creator? DRG? Probably. What do you think? Who do you think's getting out of there? Because you can only pick 4.
Yeah. So I would say from that bracket that Dongringu is in, him and Laser are the 2 favorites. And then it comes down to ZVZ, which is a crapshoot. So, like, I don't know, man. I could see either of them winning that. I could see a Laser winning it for sure.
Fair enough. I mean, I think if a Laser gets out first, DRG might get out by the bottom bracket. But I think Hero would get out before DRG. So Hero and Laser, I think.
Yeah, I'm down.
Yeah. Cool. I like how it says show schedule, but there's no date.
They're working on it. Jeez.
Well, I want to take time off to watch these. I can't do that if I don't know when I need to take time off.
Ooh, I should too. I have unlimited time off now. I should make use of that.
Unlimited time off. I always hear like horror stories about companies that give their employees unlimited time off. It's like Netflix had unlimited time off, and so this lady took like 6 months because she needed it for like looking after a kid and then a surgery or something. And then one day they just kept approving all her time off, and eventually she just realized she just didn't have a job anymore. Like
what? How did she like?
Basically, someone else was doing her job, and then they just kept being like, "You want another 6 months off? Here you go."
Oh wow!
And,
okay.
Then I think after like the second or third round of that or something, her position was removed from the company. Like it was just gone. So she couldn't come back to where she was, and there was nothing else available for her. It was a very, very strange story, but this was like 10 years ago. Maybe it's better now.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it varies company to company. I think some companies they're just going to treat it differently. Some companies give more leeway to it. Some companies will be fine with you taking, a few weeks off, a couple weeks off here and there. Others will freak out about that much. It's just a matter of how cool they are about it.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, honestly, after this next cloud update goes out, I think I'm just going to file for 2 weeks off and see what happens.
Go for it.
Yeah. Just take advantage of it. They said unlimited. Let's test it and see what they say.
Yeah, do it.
Amazing. What else is happening? Man, Attack on Titan is crazy. You didn't watch it, so I'm not going to talk about it, but it continues to be nuts. So I restarted Psycho Pass. I started it probably 6 or 7 years ago.
Yep.
Like closer when it actually came out.
Right.
Watched a couple episodes, didn't really grab me, and I was like, well, I'll give it another try. And it's good. I like it a lot.
Yeah, it's good.
It's really smart. Got some great writing, some good villains in there too. Some really nice kind of gray area stuff going on. I am always annoyed about the guns they use, the Dominators.
Yeah.
So, okay, for those who haven't watched the anime, there's these cops, and they've got guns, and they point it at a criminal, and then the gun reads what's called their criminal coefficient. And if the person's coefficient is high enough, then you can shoot them and stun them. If it's super high, you can kill them. If it's super duper high, you eliminate their body from existence. which I feel like options 2 and 3 are pretty much the same thing. I don't know, whatever. But so like you're chasing someone, you point your gun at them, and then it's like, okay, the gun's like, hold on a second, taking a reading here. Bloop, 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 bloop. Okay, this is the coefficient. Unlocking the trigger now. Like, so it's a good 10 or 15 seconds where you're pointing the gun at the person you're intending to shoot and you can't fire.
It's a itsy bitsy tiny little issue with the protocol that's taking place.
Yeah. So later on in the series, it does say we could just equip drones with these guns, right? It'd be faster. We wouldn't require communication between a machine and a human, which is the lag time here, right? But they make the point that they like the human part of the equation because the human can choose not to pull the trigger. Whereas a drone is just going to do it. If the number's high enough, they're going to do what the number says, and there's no choice there, right? So I kind of like that aspect to it, where it is saying, there are going to be situations where maybe, sure, the gun says you can kill him, but you don't want to because of extenuating circumstances that the criminal coefficient doesn't take into effect.
Right. The problem with that is, like, you have already such significantly outside of the realms of possible level of technology that the only reason the robot can't choose not to pull the trigger is because you've written it to say that it wouldn't. Whatever it is the human is making that decision based on, surely with a sophisticated enough machine, it could also make that decision, right?
Yeah, it could. I mean, and part of the story too is that there are cops who just pull the trigger every time. They are literally drones at that point. If the gun says shoot, they shoot. They don't ask themselves questions about it. They don't second guess. So yeah, so they're just assuming that sure, the robot is as smart as they are. They have all the information that the human does. So why second guess it? And that's what you're saying, right?
Well, I'm saying that you could, but if they're saying that that's why they don't do drones, because the drone wouldn't have whatever that extra piece of information, that sixth sense, that gut feeling or instinct that a person does. That is why a human will sometimes not pull the trigger. It's only like that because they've written it that way, and that's fine. But if you have a gun that when you point it at someone can measure their mental stability at a look, then I mean they're already doing 99% of the work. You've just capped it off for some reason that they can't. They can't ever like take that extra 1% step further and be like, no, I don't think this person needs to die right now.
Right. No, I agree.
Yeah. I did watch a bit of this, and it's one of those shows I dropped and meant to come back to and just didn't.
Hey, same experience. Yeah. So I haven't finished it yet, but there are some interesting. So one of the concepts in the show is that there are people, what they say is like 1 in 20 million people can't be read by the system. You point the gun at them and the system says, there's no reading here, right?
Yeah.
And they don't know why. Like they can't figure out the biological or system reason why this is the case. So the main villain of the show is one of these people. So he's capable of doing all this villainous stuff, and the system's just like, you're cool. I don't have any problem with you. But
so
also,
hold on. Does the system go, we can't read this person, or this person reads as fine?
It reads as like 0. Like their criminal coefficient score is as low as it can be.
Well, I feel like you just, I don't know, put them into containment anyway. Be like, all right, well, we clearly can't trust you. Your entire system is designed around reading these. Let's just assume guilt here.
Yeah. But okay, so a lot of the system's automated. They have coefficient readers on street corners and like in buildings. And so you're just passing them and getting passively scanned all the time. Right? So this dude can be in public and do this. And if and if he tries to get apprehended by the authorities, they just can't shoot him. They have to hit him with a stick or something, or like punch him and handcuff him, right?
Sure.
Yeah. So right, that's the difference here.
But so is zero a reading that a normal person can get? Or like,
Okay.
because here's the thing, like I've seen a little bit of this, and I might be getting confused with Black Mirror, where the guy tries to go to work, but he doesn't have enough likes or whatever. Like he's oh, you're only a 4-star. You have to be at least 4.5 to get into your workplace building, right? Like we only
Yeah,
let
yeah,
people.
yeah. That's like
So
social credit stuff. Yeah.
right. So if you had someone who's going around and like average people baseline is like 50 to 60, and if they're higher than that, then there's an issue. But if you've got someone who's walking around at like a 0, just don't open doors for him.
Yeah, so just code that in.
Right, yeah. Just like pen
Right.
him into a small room and, like a phone booth or somewhere else that no one else will ever need to go. And I don't know, go
Problem
collect him.
solved.
Yeah. Just
Yeah.
pen people in like cattle. It's fine.
So the other interesting point here is that the protagonist of the show, who's a rookie in basically for the cops,
Mm-hmm.
she also has a super mega low coefficient all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Even when, so the point is, if you're exposed to traumatic experiences,
You get
that
numb.
raises it because you just have more stress, and that brings you closer to being unstable, right?
Yeah, I understand. Like, I remember watching the first episode and getting that feeling, which is like, oh, if you're one of the people who has to go out and deal with like dead bodies and shooting at criminals, then you're going to
Yeah.
have a higher stress baseline and all this. But I would imagine that there's got to be like a desensitization aspect to it too, where someone who is like all the cops who just pull the trigger because the gun says go and they do, or those people are just desensitized and their reading should be equally as low, or at least averagely low.
Yeah, maybe so.
Maybe.
But anyway, I'm wondering if that comes into play, because they're basically saying this person who comes across as being very good and very interested in just helping people out of the goodness of her heart,
Mm-hmm.
and she has this weird, very low coefficient, even though she shouldn't, thing going on, just like the main antagonist does.
Mm-hmm.
It just makes me wonder if there's a connection, if that'll come back, if there's a connection to it at all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah. Would you like to
So,
take a guess as to what I've been watching?
anime things, because you're back on anime.
Mm-hmm.
Yes?
It's true. It's true. So this season there has been like 9 new isekais, which all seem very, very similar and samey. To the point where I didn't remember which one I was watching when I loaded up an episode. Like, it took me a moment. But
Excellent. Well,
I finally found one that seems to be very different from all the others, which is life with an ordinary guy who is reincarnated into a total fantasy knockout. So, 2 guys, one who might just be closet gay, both get isekai'd into a fantasy world, and one of them gets transformed into a woman. And then
nice.
then they both get cursed by the god of love and have to try and resist falling in love with each other.
Wow, that's a little complicated there at the end.
That's a little complicated, but it's just tricky because they were best friends, and one of them didn't like women all that much and kind of basically already loved his mate. And he gets like his bonus like skill or whatever is he can snap his fingers and open a door to paradise, and it's literally his mate's apartment. Which
that says a lot about his brain functions.
Says a lot about him, and
Yeah.
it's funny. It's God. Highly recommend this piece of trash if you're looking for something light and comedy. Light and comedic, not light in comedy.
Yeah. I think I got there.
Yeah. Highly recommend.
Good stuff.
Yeah, something to wash down the grim dark of psychopaths.
No kidding.
Oh God, I said grim dark, and now all I can think is Warhammer. I was on Reddit and I learned. Okay, so I've told you about Warhammer. They have the thing called perpetuals, which are basically people who live forever.
Yeah.
So there was an assassin perpetual who was talking about how he's been alive for like millennia, basically, like since modern times today. And he was saying, because he's an assassin, that he killed a good man in Memphis. which MLK was killed in Memphis. So they literally have a guy in 40K who's like, yeah, I killed Martin Luther King. Why?
Whoa.
Why do you need that? Like, why
Y-
do you need to have someone make that claim? That's
That does
stupid.
seem real stupid.
It's just disappointing when you find out, like, it's some tiny dumb piece of trivia about law that's just stupid.
And like kind of edgy for no reason too. Like what are we
Exactly.
doing here exactly?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
At
Hmm.
that point, I turned off Reddit for a bit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, that's fair.
Yeah. That and then I
Walk
played
outside, touch some grass.
it. No, I didn't go out and touch any grass. I went
Oh.
outside and stood in the sunlight. And just
I mean, that probably counts too.
probably good enough. Yeah.
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 Indeed. Oh, so the man. So the subreddit's called Super Stonk. It's basically all the apes who are like really big into GameStop
Okay.
stock, right?
Sure.
So there's all these dudes who basically just sit around all day, like trying to uncover crazy stuff in the U.S. financial system because they feel like it's rigged against them.
Sure.
Which, accurate or not, whatever.
Yeah.
So this one dude posts a crazy long analysis of the current state of the United States financial system and basically comes up with that there's $10.8 trillion missing
Okay.
from the government. And a lot of that money was intended to go to fund different municipalities and states across the country.
Mm-hmm.
And that the concern is, long story short, again, this is a very, very long post, and I don't understand a lot of it.
Mm-hmm.
But the long story short is that he expects to see certain cities in the US be unable to pay their employees soon,
Mm.
which means your sanitation workers aren't going to work, and your bus drivers aren't going to work, and your
Mm-hmm.
street sweepers aren't going to work, and your city employees aren't going to work.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it could turn into some kind of a huge problem here sooner rather than later. So,
Yeah. So
again,
hold on, I'm gonna look
it's
something up.
GME apes. They're not like the most trustworthy, most intelligent people on the planet Earth.
Mm-hmm. I remember.
Somicron is looking up.
Yeah, no, because I've been listening to old podcasts, and they were talking about an article where the city of Detroit, and yes, it's Detroit, was asking people that they had to move back into the city center because they didn't have funds for all that stuff further out of the city, like in the surrounding areas. So asking people to move back into the city because that's
Wow.
where they'll be running water, and I can't find anything on it
Hmm.
specifically. But the top result for what I put in was like Detroit worker walks 21 miles to commute.
Hot dang.
Assumingly because there's no bus. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I'm not I'm
I'm
not
just
like
saying there's
panicking or
precedent for
anything.
this.
Yes, exactly.
But
And
what I will say is when someone comes to a post with a number as big as $10 trillion, like that sounds like a made up. Like I know that that's within the US's budget, especially over many years. Like you can build to a number that high. It's not a totally out there number, but 10 trillion just sounds like a made up number. It's like
yeah,
I want to pull up a number so big people are gonna just like wow. It's like wow, 10 trillion. It's an eye grabbing number.
that definitely is. I mean,
Yeah.
it's got a lot more emotional weight behind than saying 1.3 million for sure.
It's true. Yeah.
Yeah, or even, with the inflation, even billions aren't that impressive anymore. You got to go right to the trillions if you're trying to
Mm-hmm.
make people
I'm
understand
gonna
how much money we're talking about.
I'm gonna name my son Max a Trillion. Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely yes. And I was talking about raises today with my new boss, and
Mm-hmm.
he told me, so at the previous place he used to work before where he works now, it there was this insane system where you basically had to put together a massive hour-long presentation justifying why you deserve a raise. Like like people spent days on this. Like people would like take 2
Really?
days off of work to put together all the numbers and statistics and a slideshow, like a
Well.
PowerPoint presentation.
If they can take 2 days off work to put together a presentation, clearly they don't have enough work, right? They don't
So,
deserve a promotion.
so maybe that's the flaw in the system. Because my boss, he saw one of his coworkers do this and take 2 days and put together this incredibly well polished, with tons of information presentation, and he didn't get anything for a raise that year. Nothing, 0%. And so at that point, my boss was like, "So I stopped doing that. I never made another presentation again because I was like, look, obviously it doesn't matter, but maybe you're right. Maybe the bosses are like, this guy took 2 days off of work. He's not that valuable. He doesn't take his job seriously enough, obviously."
Clearly, no.
Yeah. So maybe that's what happened. We just misread it the entire way. So yeah, I'm going to send you the Super Stonk post, which has 14,000 upvotes and uses a lot of abbreviations like M1 and M2, and I don't know what that means. And
Sure.
he calls municipalities munices, which is like, I know you're trying to shorten the word municipality, but like that doesn't track for me.
No.
Anyway,
it's a long post.
I told you.
Well, I
It's like a
clearly don't have
novella.
time to read this here.
No, definitely not. I'm just later if you just want to skim it. Because again, I'm not saying this is gospel truth. I just thought it was interesting. It was making some interesting claims.
Can I get the audiobook version of this on Audible by any chance?
No, I'll bet you can. Absolutely.
Oh.
Just gotta do a quick search on Amazon here, and yeah.
Oh, can you read it to me like it's a bedtime story?
Oh my gosh, it would make you fall asleep.
I'm hoping so.
Like, watch this. March 15th, 2020, coordinated international action to lower pricing on the US dollar liquidity swap arrangements. Yeah. The Fed, in coordination with the Bank of Canada, the Bank of England, the Bank of Japan, the European Central Bank, and the Swiss National Bank, announced a coordinated effort to lower pricing on standing US dollar liquidity swap arrangements by 25 basis points and to offer US dollars with an 84-day maturity in addition to the usual weekly maturity. I don't know what this means. It's a very long sentence with a lot of words in it. Both of these actions are designed to improve global liquidity of the US dollar. I understand that a little bit better. It's a shorter sentence.
It's a much shorter sentence. I mean, oh god, it really just does raise to the idea that the economy is, and the banking system in particular, is so unbelievably complex that they've made it just challenging to be penetrated at every level by anyone who's not already a part of it, and the people who are a part of it just kind of don't know how it works and just be like, stonks go up, like the line goes up, it's good, right?
Yeah, it really does feel more and more like that every day, 100%.
Yeah.
And not just that, but that the people who are up there screwing around with it are doing risky things. It's kind of like The Big Short all over again. People are putting the health of the economy at risk by propping up their current plans on stilts and putting those plans on stilts. And it's like rickety stuff all the way down.
House of Stilts. Yeah.
Yeah. And if one thing collapses, it all dies, like in 2008. So, I don't know, man. Blah. It's just, I read it earlier today while I was waiting for my vaccine appointment, and it's kind of stuck with me. So
that's, yeah, no, fair enough.
Yeah. Yeah. What else is going on? Oh, so I am excited for this new Reacher show on Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
So the Tom Cruise Reacher is bad and dumb because Tom Cruise is poorly cast as Jack Reacher, who's like huge, and Tom Cruise is 5'6".
Right.
That seems high. Anyway, so what they did is Amazon Prime decided to make a Reacher show, and they actually cast someone who's 6'2". Hooray! It's a miracle. They pulled it off. They found somebody in all the world who's 6'2" and can play Jack Reacher a little bit.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, I'm excited. I'm gonna watch at least a couple episodes this week, and then maybe we'll talk about it next week on the pod. I forget.
Sure.
Do you have Prime?
Um, I forget. Do I have Prime?
There's too many streaming services.
There is. Yeah, there is. I don't think so. I mean, I can get it. Is the answer.
Yeah. Okay, it's available, so that's nice. Anyway,
Yeah.
and I've heard good things too, because I do like to listen to the buzz when stuff's released. And if most people have been like, it's skippable," or it's not
Mhm.
very good," then I probably wouldn't bother with it. But a lot of people are enjoying it that I trust, so I'm
Fair.
definitely going to give it a try.
I mean, if it's good, I'll wait for the boys to come back, and then I'll renew my subscription and watch
Oh,
it then. Yeah.
little yeah. 2 for action. That sounds good.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
That is my plan. Yeah.
So speaking of Prime, I guess real quick. Speaking of Prime, so The Expanse finished up,
Mm-hmm.
and it finished up in a way that didn't feel like it was a series end. It felt
Okay.
very much like a season end, but they're like, "No, we're done." That's it. There are some storylines that obviously aren't finished up, and like maybe we'll do a spin-off show in a couple years with some of these characters, but The Expanse is wrapped up. And I
Mm.
just thought that was a weird way to go about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um,
It like cuz like it ended and it did not feel like I didn't know
you were like, so
that it
there's
was the
another episode
series
next
end.
week, right?
Yeah, or maybe it really did feel like, we'll make another season, come see us in 9 months, right? That's what it felt like to me. But then I
Mhm.
was reading about it, I'm like, "When's the next season?" They're like, "No, it's done." And I was like, "What? No, it's not." Well, I mean, you guys are in charge, but I have some questions.
I don't know what to tell you.
I know. It was very confusing, but I don't know. I guess it makes sense. I'm just not happy about it.
Yeah, no, yep, no, I get it.
Yeah. Yep,
Just
yep.
good
All right,
times.
cool. So we're gonna wrap this thing up.
Sure, yeah.
Anything else you wanted to cover for today?
Mm, I mean, I've just started playing Dying Light 2, and if it's good,
Oh,
I'll
yeah.
I'll talk about it next week.
Okay. I've heard good things about that one too, for sure.
It's very highly reviewed on Steam at the moment.
Hmm.
Yep, very positive.
How's your initial impression been? Good?
My initial impressions are it's very pretty, and everything on lower, my 1080 only gets 50 frames per second.
Oh no, only 50 frames per second.
It's too low. I can see the
You can
the
see the
stuttering.
pixels.
I can see. Well, obviously, I can see the pixels. It's how the image forms, Falcon.
Oh,
God.
right. Yeah. Forgot that's how images work.
Did you forget how monitors work? God, you're so old.
Hate it when that happens.
Yeah. Back
Yeah.
in my day, we had pencils and we had to draw things.
We did. Shut up. Sometimes we got markers.
Back in my day, flip books were the only kind of animation that I watched.
They drew images on a cave wall, and
And
you had to
we-
walk along the wall, and it looked like the buffalo was running.
No, but the game is really, really pretty. I just wish I could lower some of the settings a bit further because I feel like it loaded up on like medium to high by default, and I'm like, yeah, I'm getting 35 frames. This is not acceptable.
35. Okay, 35 I'm with you on. 50 feels less.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, I'm still playing it.
Mm,
I didn't
True.
refund the game.
Yeah.
I mean, I could have, but I didn't. Yeah, I just wish I could actually get in there and start lowering a little bit more stuff. The settings menu is very sparse. So,
That's
Yeah.
disappointing.
Yeah.
It's from a good studio, right?
Techland, which actually there is a series of very funny negative reviews about it not having Italian localization.
I mean, okay. I assume it has, like, it's missing other localization, not just Italy.
No, it has a bunch of others. Like it has about like 10 or 11 options, and Italy's not one of them.
It's another Polish video game company, like CD
Yeah.
Projekt Red.
Yep.
Oh, they did Dead Island.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Um, and actually, as you're through like part of the tutorial, you're like scavenging through this house, and you can find a record player, with the record "Who Do You Voodoo," which was like the theme song for Dead Island. Like it was the opening
Oh,
theme
nice.
track. Yeah,
Oh, that's fun.
yeah. So I'm like, oh, I get it. I understood that reference.
Yeah, you're Captain America.
Yeah.
So that was released in 2011. So yeah, that's 10 years ago now.
Mhm.
Dead Island came out. Look at this. It was originally announced at 2006's E3 and
Oh
didn't
yeah.
release until 2011. Holy
Oh,
smokes.
wow.
I mean, it's no Half-Life 3, but that's a good chunk of time.
Mm-hmm.
Techland.
Yep.
Well, excellent. Glad you're having a good time. Sorry about the graphics situation.
I'll manage. I'll just go out and buy a new graphics card.
I mean, that's as simple as it is, right?
Yeah, because there's stock, and they're not
Everywhere.
incredibly overpriced.
Nope, not at all. You go to the eBay, it's very reasonably priced for the secondhand market as well.
Oh yeah, yeah. Let's go to eBay and look at a new graphics card.
Oh no.
Let's
We're gonna
let's
end the pod on that.
Yep.
All right.
What do you got? 3090?
80.
3080. Let's look at a 3080. You know what? It's only $2,500.
Oh my gosh. Retail about $850. Oh. Is that a buy it now price, or is that like a bidding starts
that's
now
an
price?
excellent point. That's $2,500 or best offer.
Okay.
So that's
So
I think that's buy it now.
yeah, effectively.
And what is retail for that here? That is okay. It's only like $500 more. It's actually less depending on the brand of card.
Oh.
Yeah. There's a Asus one here for that's 2007 from the 2,700 from retail.
Brutal.
Yeah.
Well, maybe one day.
Maybe one day.
Maybe one day. On that hopeful note.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right, cool. So let's wrap it up. Thank you so much for hanging out with us for another edition of the Falcon Paladin Hour with Somicron. As always, please feel free to support the podcast directly at patreon.com/Somicron. Also, you can buy stuff at falconpaladin.store for the merch.
Mm-hmm.
We do this live at twitch.tv/Somicron every week at 9 p.m. Eastern, like, I don't know, 1 p.m. the next day in Australia.
Mm-hmm. Yep, 1 p.m.
So Wednesday in Australia, Tuesday in the US.
True facts.
And until next time, as always, thanks for being here. Thanks for hanging with us. And until next time, you take care of yourself.
Bye.
Goodbye.
If you want a Gundam graphics card, I don't know, like I